The emergence of Homo sapiens, the species to which all modern humans belong, represents one of the most pivotal moments in the history of life on Earth. Approximately 300,000 years ago, in the diverse and dynamic landscapes of Africa, our species began to take shape, marking a significant milestone in the evolutionary journey of hominins. This chapter explores the origins of Homo sapiens, delving into the biological, environmental, and genetic factors that contributed to their emergence, the evidence from the fossil record, and the broader context of human evolution that set the stage for their eventual dominance across the globe. The hominin lineage and predecessors of Homo sapiens. The story of Homo sapiens begins millions of years ago within the broader hominin lineage, a group of species that includes humans and their closest relatives. Hominins diverged from their closest living relatives, the chimpanzees and bonobos, approximately 5 to 7 million years ago. This divergence led to the evolution of early hominins like Sahelanthropus, Chadensis australopithecus, Afarensis, famously represented by the fossil Lucy, and later, more advanced genera such as Homo. By around 2 million years ago, the genus Homo had emerged, with species like Homo habilis and Homo erectus displaying increasingly sophisticated behaviors, such as tool use and expanded geographical ranges. Homo erectus in particular was a highly successful species, spreading from Africa to Asia and Europe and surviving for over 1.5 million years. However, it was Homo heidelbergensis, appearing around 700,000 years ago, that is considered the most likely direct ancestor of Homo sapiens. This species exhibited traits that bridged earlier hominins and modern humans, including a larger brain and more advanced tool-making capabilities. Fossil evidence and the African cradle. The earliest definitive evidence of Homo sapiens comes from Africa, specifically from sites such as Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, dated to approximately 300,000 years ago. The fossils from Jebel Irhoud, discovered in 2017, include skulls, teeth, and long bones that display a mix of modern and archaic features. These individuals had facial structures remarkably similar to those of modern humans, with a flatter face and smaller brow ridges, but their brain cases were more elongated, suggesting that the fully modern brain shape evolved later. Other key sites, such as Omo Kibish in Ethiopia, dated to approximately 195,000 years ago, and Klasies River in South Africa, provide additional evidence of early Homo sapiens. The Omo Kibish remains, particularly the Omo eye skull, are among the oldest known fossils that closely resemble modern humans in both cranial and postcranial anatomy. These discoveries underscore Africa's role as the cradle of humanity, a continent where environmental diversity and climatic shifts likely drove evolutionary changes. The African origin of Homo sapiens is further supported by genetic evidence. Studies of mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome data suggest that all modern humans share a common ancestor in Africa, often referred to as mitochondrial Eve, and Y chromosomal Adam, who lived roughly 200,000 to 300,000 years ago. These genetic markers trace the maternal and paternal lineages of modern humans, reinforcing the fossil record's indication of an African origin. Anatomical innovations of Homo sapiens. What sets Homo sapiens apart from their predecessors? The answer lies in a suite of anatomical and cognitive traits that emerged over time. One of the most significant features is the enlarged brain, averaging around 1,350 cubic centimeters in modern humans, compared to approximately 1,200 cubic centimeters in Homo heidelbergensis. This increase in brain size, particularly in the frontal and parietal lobes, is associated with enhanced cognitive abilities, including problem-solving, planning, and abstract thinking. Another defining characteristic is the shape of the skull. Homo sapiens skulls are globular, with a high forehead, reduced brow ridges, and a pronounced chin features that distinguish them from earlier hominins, like Homo erectus or Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis. The development of a more gracile skeleton, with lighter bones and a more upright posture, also facilitated greater mobility and endurance, key advantages for a species that would eventually colonize diverse environments. The vocal tract of Homo sapiens also evolved to support complex speech, while direct evidence of language is absent from the fossil record. The shape of the hyoid bone and the structure of the throat suggest that Homo sapiens had the anatomical capacity for articulate speech, a trait that likely played a critical role in their social and cultural development. Environmental and climatic influences. The emergence of Homo sapiens occurred during a period of significant environmental change in Africa. Between 400,000 and 200,000 years ago, the continent experienced fluctuating climates, with alternating periods of wet and dry conditions. These changes influenced the availability of resources, forcing early hominins to adapt to diverse habitats, from grasslands to woodlands. Such environmental pressures likely favored individuals with greater cognitive flexibility and innovative behaviors, driving the evolution of Homo sapiens. For example, the ability to exploit a wide range of food sources, from hunting large game to gathering plants and small animals, gave Homo sapiens an edge over other hominins. The development of more sophisticated stone tools, such as those associated with the Middle Stone Age in Africa, reflects this adaptability. These tools, including blades and points, were more efficient for hunting and processing food, indicating a leap in technological capability. Genetic diversity and interbreeding. Genetic studies have revealed that Homo sapiens did not evolve in isolation. As they spread across Africa and later beyond, they encountered other hominin species, such as Neanderthals and Denisovans. Interbreeding occurred, leaving traces of Neanderthal DNA 1 to 2% in modern non-African populations, and Denisovan DNA in some Asian and Oceanic populations. This genetic exchange likely provided Homo sapiens with adaptive advantages, such as improved immune responses, that aided their survival in new environments. The genetic diversity of early Homo sapiens populations in Africa also played a crucial role in their success. Unlike other hominin species, which often had limited geographical ranges, Homo sapiens populations were spread across diverse regions, leading to a rich pool of genetic variation. This diversity enhanced their resilience to environmental challenges and diseases, contributing to their long-term survival. The significance of Homo sapiens emergence. The emergence of Homo sapiens was not merely a biological event, but a transformative moment that laid the foundation for the cultural, technological, and social developments that define humanity today. Their cognitive abilities enabled the creation of complex social structures, art, and eventually language, setting them apart from other hominins. The ability to innovate and adapt allowed Homo sapiens to thrive in a wide range of environments. From the deserts of Africa to the icy landscapes of Europe and Asia, the evolutionary origins of Homo sapiens highlight the interplay of biology, environment, and chance. Their emergence in Africa, supported by fossil, genetic, and archaeological evidence, marks the beginning of a remarkable journey that would see them spread across the globe, outcompeting or absorbing other hominin species and building the foundations of modern civilization. Conclusion. The evolutionary origins of Homo sapiens represent a confluence of biological innovation, environmental adaptation, and genetic diversity. From their roots in Africa, 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens developed the traits that would enable them to dominate the planet. The fossil record, coupled with genetic and archaeological evidence, paints a vivid picture of a species uniquely equipped to navigate the challenges of a changing world. This chapter sets the stage for understanding the subsequent developments in Homo sapiens history, from their cultural achievements to their global dispersal, which will be explored in later chapters. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa, approximately 300,000 years ago, was not an isolated event, but one deeply intertwined with the continent's dynamic environmental and climatic conditions. Africa, often referred to as the cradle of humanity, provided a rich and varied landscape that shaped the evolutionary trajectory of early modern humans. This chapter explores the ecological, geological, and climatic context of ancient Africa during the period when Homo sapiens first appeared, highlighting how these factors influenced their survival, adaptation, and eventual success as a species. Africa's diverse landscapes. Africa, the second largest continent, is a mosaic of ecosystems, ranging from lush rainforests to arid deserts, vast savannas, and mountainous regions. Around 300,000 years ago, during the Middle Pleistocene, the continent was characterized by significant environmental diversity. East Africa, where some of the earliest Homo sapiens fossils have been found, featured rift valleys, lakes, and grasslands. Sites like Homo Kibish in Ethiopia and the Afar region were home to riverine and lacustrine environments, providing abundant water and food resources. In North Africa, the region around Jebel Irhoud, in modern-day Morocco, was wetter than it is today, with evidence of lakes and wetlands that supported diverse flora and fauna. Southern Africa, including areas like Clay's River and Blombo's Cave, had coastal ecosystems rich in marine resources, such as shellfish, which likely supplemented the diets of early Homo sapiens. These varied landscapes offered a range of ecological niches, allowing early humans to develop flexible survival strategies. The diversity of Africa's environments meant that early Homo sapiens populations had to adapt to multiple challenges. From competing for resources in dense forests to hunting in open savannas, this adaptability fostered resilience and innovation, key traits that distinguished Homo sapiens from other hominin species like Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis. Climatic fluctuations and their impact. The period between 400,000 and 200,000 years ago was marked by significant climatic variability in Africa, driven by global cycles of glacial and interglacial periods. These fluctuations, part of the Milankovitch cycles, caused alternating wet and dry phases across the continent. During wetter periods, lakes and rivers expanded, creating fertile environments that supported large populations of animals and plants. In contrast, dry periods led to the expansion of grasslands and deserts, forcing hominins to adapt to scarce resources. In East Africa, the formation of the Great Rift Valley created a unique environmental corridor. Lakes such as Turkana and Malawi fluctuated in size, influencing the availability of fish, aquatic plants, and game animals. These changes likely pressured early Homo sapiens to develop versatile foraging and hunting strategies. For instance, archaeological evidence from sites like Olorujaseli in Kenya shows that early humans used a variety of stone tools to process both plant and animal resources, indicating a broad diet. Climatic instability also drove population movements. During dry periods, some groups may have migrated to more hospitable areas, such as coastal regions or river valleys, leading to interactions between different Homo sapiens populations. These interactions likely contributed to genetic diversity, a critical factor in the species' long-term survival. Flora and fauna of ancient Africa. The African landscape 300,000 years ago was teeming with megafauna, including elephants, rhinoceroses, and large antelopes, which provided both opportunities and dangers for early Homo sapiens. Predators like lions, hyenas, and leopards posed constant threats, necessitating group cooperation and the development of defensive strategies. The presence of these animals also shaped hunting practices, as early humans learned to target smaller, more manageable prey or scavenge from predator kills. Plant life was equally diverse, with edible roots, fruits, and seeds available in different regions. The ability to exploit a wide range of food sources gave Homo sapiens a significant advantage over other hominins, who may have been more specialized in their diets. For example, coastal populations in southern Africa relied heavily on shellfish, as evidenced by middens piles of discarded shells found at sites like Blombo's Cave. This dietary flexibility allowed Homo sapiens to survive in varied and changing environments. The role of fire and resource management. One of the critical innovations of early Homo sapiens was the controlled use of fire, which likely began with their predecessors, but became more widespread during this period. Fire provided warmth, protection from predators, and a means to cook food, making it easier to digest and unlocking more nutritional value. Archaeological evidence from sites like Wonderwork Cave in South Africa suggests that fire was used as early as 1 million years ago. But Homo sapiens refined its application, using it to alter landscapes through controlled burns, to encourage the growth of edible plants, or drive game animals toward hunters. Fire also facilitated social bonding, as groups gathered around hearths to share meals and stories. This social aspect likely strengthened group cohesion, a critical factor in the survival of early human populations. The ability to manage resources effectively, whether through hunting, gathering, or environmental manipulation, set Homo sapiens apart from other hominins. Interaction with other hominin species. Africa during the Middle Pleistocene was not inhabited solely by Homo sapiens. Other hominin species, such as Homo heidelbergensis, and possibly late populations of Homo erectus, coexisted in some regions. These species likely competed for similar resources, such as water sources and prey animals. The interactions between Homo sapiens and these other hominins may have ranged from competition to cooperation, with evidence of genetic interbreeding in later periods as Homo sapiens spread beyond Africa. The presence of multiple hominin species in Africa underscores the competitive nature of the environment. Homo sapiens' ability to adapt to diverse ecological niches, coupled with their cognitive and social advantages, likely gave them an edge over their contemporaries, paving the way for their eventual dominance. Archaeological and fossil insights. Key archaeological sites provide a window into the ancient African context. At Jebel Irhoud, tools associated with the Middle Stone Age, such as Levallois flakes, indicate advanced technological skills. These tools, characterized by their precision and versatility, allowed early Homo sapiens to hunt, butcher, and process resources efficiently. Similarly, the Homo Kibish site in Ethiopia reveals a reliance on aquatic resources, suggesting that early humans exploited lakes and rivers for fish and other food sources. Fossils from these sites also provide clues about the physical adaptations of early Homo sapiens. Their skeletal structure, with a more gracile build compared to Homo heidelbergensis, suggests improved mobility and endurance, traits that were advantageous in the varied African terrain. The broader evolutionary implications. The ancient African context was a crucible for human evolution, shaping Homo sapiens into a highly adaptable and resilient species. The continent's environmental diversity and climatic variability forced early humans to develop innovative strategies for survival, from tool-making to social organization. These adaptations laid the groundwork for their later dispersal across the globe, as they carried their skills and resilience to new and challenging environments. The interplay of ecology, climate, and resources in ancient Africa highlights the complex relationship between environment and evolution. Homo sapiens emerged not just as a product of genetic changes, but as a species molded by the challenges and opportunities of their surroundings. This chapter sets the stage for understanding how these early humans began to develop the cultural, technological, and social traits that would define their legacy. Conclusion. The ancient African context was a dynamic and challenging environment that played a critical role in the emergence of Homo sapiens. From the diverse landscapes of savannas, forests, and coasts, to the fluctuating climates that drove adaptation, Africa provided the stage for the evolution of modern humans. The ability to exploit varied resources, use fire, and navigate competitive ecosystems gave Homo sapiens the tools they needed to thrive. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these early adaptations enabled Homo sapiens to spread beyond Africa, shaping the course of human history. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa, approximately 300,000 years ago, is illuminated by a rich array of archaeological evidence, including fossils, tools, and early cultural artifacts. These findings, unearthed at key sites across the continent, provide critical insights into the physical characteristics, behaviors, and technological advancements of early modern humans. This chapter explores the major archaeological discoveries that document the origins of Homo sapiens, focusing on significant sites such as Jebel Irhoud, Homo Kibish, and Blombos Cave, and the implications of these findings for understanding the development of our species. The importance of archaeological evidence. Archaeological evidence serves as a tangible link to the past, offering concrete clues about the lives of early Homo sapiens. Fossils reveal anatomical details, while stone tools, ornaments, and other artifacts provide glimpses into their technological capabilities, social behaviors, and cultural practices. Unlike genetic data, which traces lineage through DNA, or paleoenvironmental studies, which reconstruct ancient landscapes, archaeology offers direct evidence of human activity. The artifacts and remains found across Africa highlight the gradual emergence of traits that define modern humans, such as advanced cognition, symbolic thought, and technological innovation. The African continent, as the cradle of humanity, hosts a wealth of archaeological sites that span hundreds of thousands of years. These sites, primarily located in East, North, and Southern Africa, document the transition from earlier hominins, like Homo heidelbergensis, to Homo sapiens. By examining the fossils and artifacts from these locations, researchers can piece together the evolutionary and behavioral milestones that set Homo sapiens apart from their predecessors. Jebel Irhoud, the earliest known Homo sapiens, one of the most significant archaeological discoveries for understanding the origins of Homo sapiens, comes from Jebel Irhoud, a site in Morocco. Excavations in 2017 revealed fossils dated to approximately 315,000 years ago, making them the oldest known remains of Homo sapiens. These fossils, including skulls, mandibles, teeth, and limb bones, belong to at least 5 individuals and exhibit a mix of modern and archaic features. The faces of the Jebel Irhoud individuals are strikingly similar to those of modern humans, with flat facial structures and reduced brow ridges, but their brain cases are more elongated, suggesting that the globular skull shape characteristic of modern humans evolved later. The Jebel Irhoud site also yielded stone tools associated with the Middle Stone Age, a period marked by more sophisticated tool-making techniques. These tools, including Levallois flakes and points, indicate that early Homo sapiens were capable of producing standardized, versatile implements for hunting and processing resources. The presence of animal bones, such as those of gazelles, suggests that these early humans were skilled hunters who exploited the resources of their environment, which was wetter and more fertile than modern-day Morocco. Homo kibish, a milestone in human anatomy. In East Africa, the Homo kibish site in Ethiopia provides some of the earliest evidence of anatomically modern Homo sapiens, dated to approximately 195,000 years ago. The Homo I and Homo II fossils include partial skulls and postcranial bones that closely resemble those of modern humans. Homo I, in particular, is notable for its modern cranial features, including a high forehead, rounded skull, and pronounced chin, hallmarks of Homo sapiens anatomy. The Homo kibish site also offers insights into the environment and lifestyle of these early humans. The presence of aquatic fauna, such as fish and crocodile bones, suggests that the inhabitants relied on riverine resources. Stone tools found at the site, including blades and scrapers, indicate a versatile toolkit used for hunting, fishing, and processing plant materials. These findings underscore the adaptability of early Homo sapiens, who thrived in a dynamic environment shaped by the fluctuating water levels of the Omo River. Blombos Cave, evidence of symbolic behavior. Southern Africa's Blombos Cave, located in South Africa, provides compelling evidence of early Homo sapiens' cognitive and cultural sophistication, dated to around 100,000 to 70,000 years ago. This site has yielded artifacts that suggest symbolic thought, a key trait distinguishing Homo sapiens from other hominins. Among the most remarkable finds are engraved ochre pieces, which feature crochetted patterns that may represent early forms of art or symbolic communication. These engravings suggest that Homo sapiens were capable of abstract thinking and possibly used symbols to convey meaning. Blombos Cave also contains perforated shell beads, likely used as jewelry or for social signaling. These beads, made from marine shells, indicate that early humans valued personal adornment, a behavior linked to complex social structures. Additionally, the site has yielded evidence of advanced toolmaking, including finely crafted bone tools and pressure-flaked stone points, which were likely used as spearheads. The presence of ochre, possibly used for body painting or rituals, further highlights the cultural complexity of these early populations. Other key sites and findings. Beyond Jebel Irhoud, Homo kibish, and Blombos Cave, numerous other African sites contribute to our understanding of Homo sapiens' origins. The Klasies River mouth in South Africa, dated to around 120,000 to 60,000 years ago, contains human remains and evidence of shellfish exploitation, indicating a reliance on coastal resources. The site also features hearths, suggesting the controlled use of fire for cooking and social activities. In East Africa, sites like Olorgesailie in Kenya reveal a transition from Maculian axes, associated with earlier hominins, to more refined Middle Stone Age tools, around 320,000 years ago. These tools, found alongside animal bones, indicate that early Homo sapiens were skilled hunters and gatherers, who exploited a wide range of resources. Similarly, the Herto site in Ethiopia, dated to approximately 160,000 years ago, has yielded Homo sapiens fossils with modern features, as well as evidence of ritualistic behavior, such as cut marks on skulls that may indicate mortuary practices. Technological advancements in the Middle Stone Age. The archaeological record of early Homo sapiens is closely tied to the Middle Stone Age, MSA, a period that began around 300,000 years ago and marked significant technological advancements. MSA tools, such as lever, flakes, blades, and points, were produced using prepared core techniques that allowed for greater precision and efficiency. These tools were versatile, used for tasks ranging from hunting to cutting plant materials. The development of composite tools, such as hafted spears, represents a leap in technological sophistication. At sites like Cathupan in South Africa, stone points dated to around 500,000 years ago, possibly used by Homo heidelbergensis or early Homo sapiens, suggest that hafting, the process of attaching stone points to wooden shafts, was an early innovation. By the time Homo sapiens emerged, this technology had become widespread, enhancing their ability to hunt large game and compete with other predators. Implications for understanding Homo sapiens. The archaeological evidence from Africa paints a picture of Homo sapiens as a highly adaptable and innovative species. The fossils demonstrate a gradual transition from archaic to modern human anatomy, with sites like Jebel Irhoud showing the early stages of this process. The artifacts, from tools to symbolic objects, reveal a species capable of complex behaviors, including hunting, social organization, and possibly symbolic communication. These findings also challenge earlier assumptions about the timeline of human evolution. The Jebel Irhoud fossils, for instance, pushed back the estimated origin of Homo sapiens by nearly 100,000 years, suggesting that modern humans emerged across a broad geographical area in Africa rather than in a single region. This Pan-African model of human origins highlights the importance of diverse archaeological sites in reconstructing our evolutionary history. Conclusion: the archaeological evidence for the emergence of Homo sapiens provides a vivid snapshot of a species on the cusp of modernity. From the fossils of Jebel Irhoud and Omo Kibish to the symbolic artifacts of Blombo's cave, these discoveries reveal the anatomical, technological, and cultural foundations of our species. The Middle Stone Age tools and early evidence of symbolic behavior underscore the innovative spirit of Homo sapiens, setting the stage for their eventual dispersal across the globe. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these early advancements pave the way for the cultural and social complexity that defines human history. The development of language and early communication systems among Homo sapiens represents one of the most transformative milestones in human evolution. Emerging in Africa around 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens exhibited cognitive and anatomical traits that likely enabled the beginnings of complex vocal communication, setting them apart from other hominins. Although direct evidence of language is absent from the archaeological record, indirect clues from anatomy, artifacts, and social behaviors provide insights into how early humans communicated. This chapter explores the origins of language, the anatomical and cognitive foundations that supported it, and its role in the survival and success of Homo sapiens. The significance of language in human evolution. Language is a hallmark of Homo sapiens, enabling complex social interactions, knowledge transmission, and cultural development. Unlike other animals, whose communication is often limited to immediate needs, like signaling danger or coordinating mating, human language allows for abstract thought, storytelling, and planning across generations. The ability to communicate complex ideas likely gave Homo sapiens a significant advantage over other hominins such as Neanderthals or Homo heidelbergensis by enhancing group coordination, cooperation, and cultural innovation. The emergence of language is closely tied to the cognitive leap that accompanied the evolution of Homo sapiens. Their enlarged brains, particularly the development of the frontal and temporal lobes, supported advanced cognitive functions like memory, problem-solving, and symbolic thinking. These capabilities, combined with anatomical adaptations in the vocal tract, laid the groundwork for the development of spoken language. Though the exact timeline and nature of this process remain subjects of intense debate. Anatomical foundations for speech. One of the key prerequisites for language is the anatomical capacity for articulate speech. Homo sapiens possess a unique vocal tract configuration that distinguishes them from earlier hominins and other primates. The human larynx, or voice box, is positioned lower in the throat compared to that of chimpanzees or earlier hominins like Homo erectus. This lower larynx creates a longer pharyngeal cavity, allowing for a wider range of vocal sounds. including vowels and consonants critical for complex speech. The hyoid bone, a small U-shaped bone in the neck that supports the tongue and larynx, also plays a crucial role in speech production. Fossil evidence of hyoid bones from Homo sapiens and their close relatives, such as a Neanderthal hyoid from Kebera Cave in Israel, dated to approximately 60,000 years ago, suggests that the anatomical capacity for speech was present in multiple hominin species. However, the Homo sapiens hyoid, combined with their more flexible tongue and refined neural control of vocal muscles, likely allowed for greater precision in sound production. Brain anatomy further supports the case for early language in Homo sapiens. The Broca's and Wernicke's areas, regions of the brain associated with speech production and comprehension, are more developed in Homo sapiens than in earlier hominins. While direct evidence of brain structure is unavailable from fossils, endocasts molds of the inner skull from early Homo sapiens skulls, such as those from Homo kibish, approximately 195,000 years ago, show enlarged frontal and temporal regions, suggesting enhanced language-related capabilities. Indirect evidence from archaeological records. Since spoken language leaves no direct traces in the archaeological record, researchers rely on indirect evidence to infer its presence. One such clue comes from the complexity of tools and behaviors associated with early Homo sapiens. Symbolic artifacts provide further evidence of communicative abilities. At Blombo's cave in South Africa, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, engraved ochre pieces and perforated shell beads suggest symbolic behavior, which is closely linked to language. These artifacts indicate that early Homo sapiens used symbols to convey meaning, a process that likely required a shared system of communication, whether vocal or gestural. The ability to create and interpret symbols points to cognitive capacities that underpin language, such as abstraction and intent. Social behaviors also offer clues about early communication. Theories on the origins of language. The origins of language remain a topic of debate among scientists, with several competing theories. The vocal theory posits that language evolved from vocalizations, such as grunts and calls, that gradually became more structured and meaningful. This theory emphasizes the anatomical changes in the vocal tract and brain as key enablers of speech. The gestural theory, on the other hand, suggests that language began with hand gestures and body language, which were later supplemented by vocal sounds. This theory points to the use of gestures in modern primates and the presence of mirror neurons in the brain, which facilitate imitation and communication. A third perspective, the social complexity hypothesis, argues that language emerged as a response to the increasing complexity of social groups. As Homo sapiens lived in larger, more cooperative groups, the need to coordinate activities, share knowledge, and maintain social bonds drove the development of language. This hypothesis is supported by the archaeological evidence of group activities, such as collective hunting and the sharing of resources, which would have required effective communication. The timeline of language development is also debated. Some researchers argued that fully modern language, with syntax and grammar, emerged relatively recently, around 50,000 to 100,000 years ago, coinciding with the cultural explosion seen in sites like Blombo's cave. Others proposed that proto-language, consisting of simple vocalizations and gestures, existed much earlier, possibly as early as 300,000 years ago, when Homo sapiens first appeared. The gradual evolution of language likely involved a combination of vocal and gestural elements, refined over time as cognitive and social demands increased. The role of language in Homo sapiens' success. The development of early communication systems was a critical factor in the success of Homo sapiens. Language enabled more effective coordination during hunting and gathering, allowing groups to strategize and share resources efficiently. For example, the ability to communicate about the location of prey or the properties of edible plants would have increased the group's survival chances in challenging environments. Language also facilitated social cohesion, a key advantage for Homo sapiens. By sharing stories, rituals, and knowledge, early humans built stronger social bonds, fostering cooperation and trust within groups. This social cohesion likely gave Homo sapiens an edge over other hominins, such as Neanderthals, who may have had less complex communication systems. The ability to transmit knowledge across generations also allowed Homo sapiens to accumulate cultural innovations. from tool-making techniques to environmental adaptations. Furthermore, language may have played a role in the symbolic behaviors that define Homo sapiens. The engraved ochre and shell beads at Blombo's cave suggest that early humans used symbols to convey identity, status, or group affiliation. These symbolic acts likely relied on a shared communicative framework, whether through spoken words, gestures, or a combination of both. Comparisons with other hominins. Comparing Homo sapiens to other hominins provides additional context for understanding early communication. Neanderthals, for instance, had the anatomical capacity for speech, as evidenced by their hyoid bone and brain structure. However, their archaeological record shows fewer signs of symbolic behavior, suggesting that their communication systems were less complex than those of Homo sapiens. The ability of Homo sapiens to combine vocal and symbolic communication likely contributed to their ability to outcompete or absorb other hominin species. Conclusion: the development of language and early communication systems marked a turning point in the evolution of Homo sapiens. While direct evidence of language is elusive, the anatomical adaptations, archaeological artifacts, and social behaviors of early Homo sapiens provide compelling indirect evidence. From the vocal tract's evolution to the symbolic artifacts at sites like Blombo's cave, these clues suggest that Homo sapiens developed rudimentary communication systems as early as 300,000 years ago. These systems enabled them to coordinate activities, build social bonds, and transmit knowledge, laying the foundation for the cultural and technological advancements that would define human history. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these early communicative abilities shaped the cultural and social evolution of Homo sapiens. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa around 300,000 years ago was accompanied by a remarkable development: the capacity for art and cultural symbolism. These behaviors, which include creating visual art, using personal adornments, and engaging in symbolic activities, distinguish Homo sapiens from other hominins and mark a significant leap in cognitive and social complexity. Archaeological evidence from sites such as Blombo's cave, Diepkloof rock shelter, and Apollo 11 cave in Africa provides insights into the early artistic expressions and symbolic behaviors of our species. This chapter explores the origins, forms, and significance of art and cultural symbolism among early Homo sapiens, highlighting how these practices shaped their identity and social structures. The significance of art and symbolism. Art and cultural symbolism represent a profound shift in human evolution, reflecting the ability to think abstractly, communicate complex ideas, and create shared meanings within a group. Unlike practical activities like toolmaking or hunting, art serves no immediate survival purpose, but is deeply tied to social, cultural, and possibly ritualistic functions. The creation of symbols, whether through engravings, paintings, or adornments, suggests that early Homo sapiens possessed cognitive abilities that allowed them to represent ideas, identities, or beliefs in material form. Symbolic behavior is closely linked to language, social organization, and cultural identity. By creating and sharing symbols, early humans could convey information about group affiliation, status, or spiritual beliefs, fostering social cohesion and cooperation. These practices set Homo sapiens apart from other hominins, such as Neanderthals, whose archaeological record shows limited evidence of symbolic activity. The emergence of art and symbolism thus marks a critical milestone in the development of modern human behavior. Archaeological evidence of early art. The earliest evidence of artistic and symbolic behavior among Homo sapiens comes from African archaeological sites, particularly in southern Africa. One of the most significant sites is Blombo's cave, located on the southern coast of South Africa, dated to approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago. Blombo's cave has yielded a wealth of artifacts that demonstrate the cognitive sophistication of early Homo sapiens. Among the most notable finds are pieces of ochre, natural pigment engraved with crochetted patterns. These engravings, often geometric in design, are considered some of the earliest known examples of abstract art. The deliberate nature of the markings suggests that they held symbolic meaning, possibly as a form of communication or ritual expression. Another remarkable discovery at Blombo's cave is a collection of perforated marine shell beads, likely used as jewelry or for social signaling. These beads, made from Nassarius krausianus shells, were carefully drilled and strung, indicating a level of craftsmanship and aesthetic awareness. The use of personal adornments suggests that early Homo sapiens valued self-expression and possibly used these items to signify individual or group identity, status, or cultural affiliation. Deepkloof rock shelter, also in South Africa, provides further evidence of symbolic behavior. Excavations at this site, dated to around 60,000 to 100,000 years ago, uncovered engraved ostrich eggshell fragments. These fragments, decorated with geometric patterns similar to those at Blombos, were likely used as containers for water or other resources. The engravings, however, suggest a decorative or symbolic purpose beyond mere utility, indicating that early Homo sapiens invested time and effort in creating aesthetically meaningful objects. In Namibia, the Apollo 11 cave offers evidence of early representational art, dated to approximately 27,000 to 25,000 years ago. This site contains painted stone slabs depicting animals, such as antelopes and possibly a rhinoceros. These paintings, though younger than the Blombos and Deepkloof artifacts, demonstrate a progression toward more complex artistic expressions, including figurative representations that may have held ritual or storytelling significance. The role of ochre in early art. Ochre, a naturally occurring iron oxide pigment, plays a central role in the archaeological record of early Homo sapiens art, found at numerous African sites, including Blombos, Clayses, Rivermouth, and Sibidou Cave. Ochre was used for a variety of purposes, from body painting to creating pigments for art. At Blombos Cave, archaeologists discovered an ochre processing workshop dated to approximately 100,000 years ago, complete with abalone shells used as mixing containers, grinding stones, and traces of ochre-based paint. This find represents the earliest known evidence of pigment processing, suggesting that early Homo sapiens had developed a systematic approach to creating art materials. The use of ochre likely extended beyond aesthetics to symbolic and ritualistic functions. For example, red ochre, with its vibrant color, may have been associated with blood, life, or spiritual beliefs. Its application in body painting or on artifacts suggests that early humans used it to convey meaning, whether in social, ceremonial, or ritual contexts. The widespread use of ochre across African sites underscores its importance in the cultural practices of early Homo sapiens. Symbolic behavior and cognitive implications. The creation of art and symbolic artifacts reflects a significant cognitive leap in Homo sapiens. The ability to conceive and produce abstract designs, such as the crochetted patterns on ochre or eggshells, requires advanced cognitive processes, including planning, abstraction, and intentionality. These processes are closely linked to the development of language, as both involve the ability to represent ideas through shared symbols. The presence of symbolic artifacts at sites like Blombos Cave suggests that early Homo sapiens had developed a capacity for symbolic thought, a trait that likely underpinned their ability to create complex social and cultural systems. The shell beads and engraved objects also point to the emergence of social signaling. By wearing beads or creating decorated items, early humans could communicate information about their identity, status, or group membership. This behavior suggests the existence of structured social groups, where individuals used visual symbols to reinforce social bonds or distinguish themselves from others. Such practices would have been particularly important in the context of increasing population sizes and interactions between different Homo sapiens groups. Comparisons with other hominin. Comparing the artistic and symbolic behaviors of Homo sapiens with those of other hominins provides insight into their unique cognitive abilities. This difference may have contributed to the competitive advantage of Homo sapiens over other hominins. The ability to create and share symbols likely facilitated stronger social networks, better communication, and the transmission of cultural knowledge, enabling Homo sapiens to adapt to diverse environments and outcompete or absorb other species. The broader cultural and social impact. The emergence of art and cultural symbolism had profound implications for the social and cultural development of Homo sapiens. Artifacts like shell beads and engraved ochre suggest the presence of rituals, ceremonies, or social practices that reinforced group cohesion. For example, the use of beads in adornment may have signaled alliances or kinship ties, helping to maintain social structures in increasingly complex groups. Art also served as a medium for storytelling and cultural transmission. The animal paintings at Apollo 11 cave, for instance, may have been used to convey narratives about hunting, mythology, or the natural world. These early artistic expressions laid the groundwork for the rich cultural traditions that would emerge in later human societies, from cave paintings in Europe to oral storytelling traditions across the globe. Conclusion: the art and cultural symbolism of early Homo sapiens represent a defining moment in human evolution, showcasing their ability to think abstractly, communicate symbolically, and create shared cultural practices. Archaeological evidence from sites like Blombos Cave, Deep Kloof Rock Shelter, and Apollo 11 Cave reveals a species capable of producing sophisticated artifacts, from engraved ochre to shell beads and painted slabs. These artifacts reflect not only aesthetic creativity, but also the emergence of complex social and cognitive behaviors. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these early symbolic practices paved the way for the cultural and technological advancements that would define Homo sapiens' global journey. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa around 300,000 years ago set the stage for one of the most significant events in human history: their dispersal beyond the African continent. Beginning approximately 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, early modern humans migrated out of Africa, spreading to the Middle East, Asia, Europe, and eventually the rest of the world. This chapter explores the timing, roots, and drivers of this dispersal, the archaeological and genetic evidence supporting it, and the interactions with other hominin species that shaped the journey of Homo sapiens into new territories. The context of dispersal. The dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa was not a single event but a complex process that occurred in multiple waves over tens of thousands of years. By 300,000 years ago, Homo sapiens had established a foothold across diverse African environments, developing the cognitive, technological, and social skills necessary for survival. These adaptations, including advanced toolmaking, symbolic behavior, and cooperative social structures, equipped them to navigate new and challenging landscapes outside their homeland. The timing of the dispersal coincided with significant environmental changes. Between 100,000 and 60,000 years ago, global climate fluctuations, driven by Milankovitch cycles, led to periods of warming and cooling that altered sea levels and vegetation patterns. During wetter periods, the Sahara Desert transformed into a green Sahara, with savannas and waterways, creating potential migration corridors. These environmental shifts likely facilitated movement out of Africa, through regions like the Nile Valley and the Arabian Peninsula. Archaeological evidence of early dispersal. The earliest evidence of Homo sapiens outside Africa comes from sites in the Middle East, particularly the Levant. The Skull and Kofsa caves in modern-day Israel, dated to approximately 120,000–90,000 years ago, contain Homo sapiens fossils with modern anatomical features, such as high foreheads and rounded skulls. These remains, found alongside Middle Stone Age tools, similar to those in Africa, suggest that early Homo sapiens ventured into the Levant during a period of favorable climate. However, this initial wave of migration appears to have been temporary, as these populations did not establish a permanent presence. A more sustained dispersal occurred around 70,000 to 50,000 years ago, often referred to as the Out of Africa event. Further east, sites in South Asia provide additional evidence. The Julapuram site in India, dated to around 74,000 years ago, contains tools that closely resemble those from African sites, suggesting a continuity of technological traditions. This period coincides with the catastrophic eruption of the Toba supervolcano, approximately 74,000 years ago, which may have influenced migration patterns by altering climates and resource availability. Despite the environmental challenges, Homo sapiens populations persisted, eventually reaching Australia by around 65,000 years ago, as evidenced by sites like Magidbi, where stone tools and ochre have been found. In Europe, Homo sapiens appeared later, around 45,000 to 40,000 years ago, as seen in sites like Bacho Kiro cave in Bulgaria and Pectera Siu oase in Romania. These sites contain fossils and tools associated with the Upper Paleolithic, a period marked by advanced technologies like blade tools and bone implements. The arrival of Homo sapiens in Europe coincided with the decline of Neanderthals, suggesting interactions that may have contributed to the latter's extinction. Genetic evidence and migration routes. Genetic studies have provided critical insights into the dispersal of Homo sapiens. Analysis of mitochondrial DNA and Y chromosome data indicates that all modern non-African populations share a common West African ancestor, with the most significant out-of-Africa migration occurring around 70,000 to 50,000 years ago. This migration is associated with a genetic bottleneck, where a small population left Africa, leading to reduced genetic diversity in non-African populations compared to African ones. Two primary routes are hypothesized for the dispersal: the northern route through the Nile Valley and the Levant, and the southern route across the Bab el-Mandeb straight into the Arabian Peninsula. The southern route, facilitated by lower sea levels during glacial periods, allowed Homo sapiens to move along the coasts of South Asia, a pathway supported by archaeological evidence from India and Southeast Asia. The northern route, via the Levant, led to Europe and Central Asia, as evidenced by the skull and Kofsa fossils. Genetic evidence also reveals interbreeding with other hominins. Non-African Homo sapiens carry 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, indicating interbreeding in the Levant or Europe around 50,000 to 60,000 years ago. Similarly, populations in Asia and Oceania show traces of Denisovan DNA, suggesting encounters in Asia. These genetic exchanges likely provided adaptive advantages, such as enhanced immune responses, aiding Homo sapiens in new environments. Drivers of dispersal. Several factors drove the dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa. Environmental pressures played a significant role, as climatic changes altered resource availability. During dry periods, competition for food and water may have pushed populations to seek new territories. Conversely, wetter periods opened migration corridors, such as the Green Sahara, facilitating movement. Population growth also contributed. As Homo sapiens populations expanded in Africa, competition for resources likely encouraged groups to explore new regions. The cognitive and technological advantages of Homo sapiens, such as their ability to create versatile tools and cooperate in large groups, enabled them to exploit new environments effectively. Cultural and social factors may have further motivated dispersal. The development of symbolic behavior, as seen in artifacts like shell beads, suggests that early Homo sapiens had complex social networks that could have driven exploration or trade. Curiosity and the desire to explore new territories, a trait rooted in human cognition, may also have played a role. Interactions with other hominins. As Homo sapiens spread beyond Africa, they encountered other hominin species, including Neanderthals in Europe and the Levant, and Denisovans in Asia. These interactions ranged from competition to coexistence and interbreeding. The archaeological record suggests that Homo sapiens' advanced technologies, such as blade tools and composite weapons, gave them a competitive edge in hunting and resource acquisition. Their ability to form larger, more cooperative social groups may have further enhanced their success. The decline of Neanderthals, who disappeared around 40,000 years ago, is often linked to the arrival of Homo sapiens in Europe. While direct conflict is not well documented, competition for resources, combined with Homo sapiens' adaptability and possibly disease transmission, likely contributed to Neanderthal extinction. Interbreeding, however, ensured that some Neanderthal traits persisted in modern human populations. The impact of dispersal. The dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa had profound implications for human history. It marked the beginning of humanity's global expansion, leading to the colonization of diverse environments, from tropical rainforests to Arctic tundras. The technological and cultural innovations developed in Africa, such as Middle Stone Age tools and symbolic artifacts, were carried to new regions, laying the foundation for regional cultural traditions. The dispersal also set the stage for the development of diverse human populations, each adapted to their local environments. Genetic and archaeological evidence suggests that Homo sapiens rapidly diversified as they spread, leading to the rich cultural and biological diversity seen in modern humans. The interactions with other hominins further enriched the genetic and cultural tapestry of Homo sapiens, contributing to their resilience and adaptability. Conclusion. The dispersal of Homo sapiens beyond Africa was a defining chapter in human evolution, driven by environmental, demographic, and cultural factors. Archaeological sites like Scowl, Kofsa, and Jebel Fire, combined with genetic evidence, reveal a complex process of migration and adaptation. By spreading across the globe, Homo sapiens demonstrated their remarkable ability to innovate, cooperate, and thrive in diverse environments. This chapter sets the stage for exploring how these early migrations shaped the cultural, technological, and social developments of Homo sapiens, as we will see in subsequent chapters. As Homo sapiens began their dispersal out of Africa, approximately 70,000 to 100,000 years ago, they encountered other hominin species, including Neanderthals, Homo neanderthalensis, and Denisovans, in regions such as the Levant, Europe, and Asia. These interactions, ranging from competition and coexistence to interbreeding, played a critical role in shaping the evolutionary trajectory of Homo sapiens. Archaeological, genetic, and paleoanthropologic evidence provides insights into these encounters, revealing a complex interplay of cultural exchange, competition, and genetic admixture. This chapter explores the nature of these interactions, their implications for Homo sapiens' survival and adaptation, and the eventual dominance of modern humans. The context of hominin diversity during the Middle and Late Pleistocene. The world was home to multiple hominin species, each adapted to their specific environments. Homo sapiens, emerging in Africa around 300,000 years ago, were not alone as they ventured beyond their homeland. Neanderthals, who inhabited Europe and Western Asia from approximately 400,000 to 40,000 years ago, were robust, cold-adapted hominins with advanced tool-making skills and social behaviors. These species shared a common ancestor with Homo sapiens, likely Homo heidelbergensis, and possessed cognitive and technological capabilities that overlapped with those of early modern humans. However, Homo sapiens' unique combination of anatomical, cognitive, and cultural traits, such as advanced language, symbolic behavior, and versatile toolkits, likely gave them a competitive edge. The interactions between Homo sapiens and these other hominins were shaped by environmental pressures, resource competition, and opportunities for cultural and genetic exchange. Archaeological evidence of coexistence. Archaeological sites in the Levant, a key region for early Homo sapiens dispersal, provide evidence of coexistence with Neanderthals. The Skull and Kofsa caves in modern-day Israel, dated to approximately 120,000, 90,000 years ago, contain Homo sapiens fossils alongside Middle Paleolithic tools, similar to those used by Neanderthals. Nearby sites, such as Armat and Kebera caves, yield Neanderthal remains from the same period, suggesting that the two species occupied the Levant simultaneously during a period of favorable climate. The similarity in tool technologies, known as the Levantine Mustarian, complicates the identification of which species produced specific artifacts. However, subtle differences, such as the presence of more refined blades in Homo sapiens sites, suggest technological distinctions. The coexistence in the Levant likely involved competition for resources, as both species hunted similar prey, such as gazelles and deer, in the region's savanna-like environment. In Europe, Homo sapiens arrived later, around 45,000 to 40,000 years ago, as evidenced by sites like Bacho Kiro Cave in Bulgaria and Pectera Siu Oase in Romania. These sites contain early Homo sapiens fossils alongside Upper Paleolithic tools, such as bladelets and bone implements, which are more advanced than the Mousterian tools associated with Neanderthals. The overlap in time and space suggests that Homo sapiens and Neanderthals interacted for several thousand years before Neanderthals disappeared around 40,000 years ago. In Asia, evidence of Denisovan interactions is scarcer due to limited fossil remains. However, the Denisova cave in Siberia has yielded both Denisovan and Homo sapiens artifacts, including a bone point dated to approximately 50,000 years ago, potentially associated with early modern humans. The presence of sophisticated tools and ornaments in Asia suggests that Homo sapiens brought their African cultural traditions, which may have influenced or been influenced by Denisovan populations. Genetic evidence of interbreeding. Genetic studies have revolutionized our understanding of interactions between Homo sapiens and other hominins. Analysis of modern human genomes reveals that non-African populations carry approximately 1 to 2% Neanderthal DNA, indicating interbreeding between Homo sapiens and Neanderthals. This genetic admixture likely occurred in the Levant around 50,000 to 60,000 years ago, during the early stages of Homo sapiens dispersal. Specific genes inherited from Neanderthals, such as those related to immune response and skin pigmentation, likely aided Homo sapiens in adapting to new environments, such as the colder climates of Europe. Similarly, populations in Asia and Oceania carry traces of Denisovan DNA, ranging from 3 to 5% in some groups, such as indigenous Australians and Melanesians. The Denisovan genetic contribution is evident in genes associated with high-altitude adaptation, as seen in modern Tibetan populations, suggesting that interbreeding provided Homo sapiens with adaptive advantages in diverse environments. A notable artifact from Denisova cave, a bone pendant possibly made by Homo sapiens but found in a Denisovan context, hints at cultural exchange alongside genetic mixing. Competition and extinction. The interactions between Homo sapiens and other hominins were not always cooperative. Competition for resources, such as food, water, and shelter, likely played a significant role, particularly in regions with limited carrying capacity. Homo sapiens' advanced technologies, such as composite tools and projectile weapons, gave them an edge in hunting and resource acquisition. For example, the Upper Paleolithic tools found in European Homo sapiens sites, including spearpoints and atlatls, were more effective for long-distance hunting than the heavier Mousterian tools used by Neanderthals. Social and cultural advantages also contributed to Homo sapiens' success. Their larger, more interconnected social networks, possibly facilitated by language and symbolic behavior, allowed for greater cooperation and resource sharing. Archaeological evidence from Homo sapiens sites, such as long-distance trade in materials like obsidian and shells, suggests more extensive networks than those of Neanderthals, whose artifacts indicate more localized resource use. The extinction of Neanderthals around 40,000 years ago and the disappearance of Denisovans shortly after are often linked to the arrival of Homo sapiens. While direct evidence of violent conflict is limited, indirect factors such as resource competition, disease transmission, and environmental changes likely contributed. For instance, Homo sapiens may have introduced pathogens to which Neanderthals had no immunity, exacerbating their decline. Climatic shifts, such as the cooling period leading up to the last glacial maximum, may have further strained Neanderthal populations, which were already adapted to specific ecological niches. Cultural exchange and adaptation beyond competition and interbreeding. There is evidence of cultural exchange between Homo sapiens and other hominins. In Asia, the presence of sophisticated tools and ornaments in Homo sapiens sites suggests that they carried African cultural traditions, such as beadmaking and symbolic art, into new regions. The interaction with Denisovans may have introduced new techniques or resource exploitation strategies, though the sparse archaeological record makes this difficult to confirm. Implications for Homo sapiens' success. The interactions with Neanderthals and Denisovans had lasting impacts on Homo sapiens. Genetic admixture provided adaptive advantages, such as enhanced immune systems and traits suited to diverse environments. Culturally, encounters with other hominins may have spurred innovation, as Homo sapiens adapted their technologies and behaviors to new challenges. The competitive pressure from other hominins likely accelerated the development of Homo sapiens' social and technological capabilities, contributing to their eventual dominance. The disappearance of Neanderthals and Denisovans also highlights the resilience and adaptability of Homo sapiens. Their ability to thrive in varied environments, from the cold steppes of Europe to the tropical forests of Asia, was likely bolstered by their cognitive flexibility, cooperative social structures, and technological innovations. These traits, honed through interactions with other hominins, set the stage for Homo sapiens' global expansion. Conclusion. The interactions between Homo sapiens and other human species, such as Neanderthals and Denisovans, were a defining aspect of early human history. Archaeological and genetic evidence reveals a complex picture of coexistence, competition, interbreeding, and cultural exchange. These encounters not only shaped the genetic and cultural makeup of Homo sapiens, but also contributed to their ability to outcompete other hominins and colonize the globe. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these interactions influence the technological, cultural, and social developments that defined Homo sapiens' journey to becoming the sole surviving human species. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa around 300,000 years ago was accompanied by significant advancements in toolmaking and technology, which played a pivotal role in their survival and success. During the Middle Stone Age MSA, Homo sapiens developed sophisticated tools that enhanced their ability to hunt, gather, and adapt to diverse environments. These innovations, ranging from refined stone tools to early composite implements, reflect the cognitive and technical capabilities that distinguished Homo sapiens from their hominin predecessors. This chapter explores the development, use, and significance of early tools and technologies, drawing on archaeological evidence from key African sites and their implications for human evolution. The Middle Stone Age, a technological revolution. The Middle Stone Age, spanning roughly 300,000 to 50,000 years ago in Africa, marked a significant leap in toolmaking technology. Unlike the earlier Achillean industry, characterized by large bifacial handaxes used by Homo erectus and Homo heidelbergensis, the MSA introduced more refined and versatile tools. These tools were smaller, more specialized, and produced using advanced techniques, reflecting the growing cognitive sophistication of Homo sapiens. The hallmark of MSA technology was the rewrote technique, a prepared core method that allowed for the production of standardized flakes and points. This technique involved carefully shaping a stone core to predetermined specifications, enabling the creation of sharp, symmetrical tools with predictable shapes. The rewrote method required planning and foresight, suggesting that Homo sapiens possessed advanced cognitive abilities, including the ability to visualize outcomes and execute complex tasks. Key archaeological sites and tool evidence. Archaeological sites across Africa provide a wealth of evidence for the tools and technologies of early Homo sapiens. In East Africa, the Olorgesailie site in Kenya, approximately 320,000 to 295,000 years ago, offers a remarkable record of technological transition. Excavations reveal a shift from Achillean handaxes to MSA tools, including blades, points, and scrapers. These tools were made from a variety of raw materials, including obsidian sourced from distant locations, indicating early trade or mobility networks. The diversity of tools at Olorgesailie suggests that Homo sapiens exploited a wide range of resources, from plants to large game. Cathupan in South Africa, approximately 500,000 to 400,000 years ago, provides evidence of early hafting technology, where stone points were attached to wooden shafts to create composite tools like spears. While these early tools may predate Homo sapiens and be associated with Homo heidelbergensis, their refinement by Homo sapiens during the MSA is evident at later sites like Pinnacle Point, approximately 164,000 years ago. Here, archaeologists found evidence of heat-treated silkrete points, a process that improved the stone's workability and sharpness, demonstrating advanced technological knowledge. Blombo's cave in South Africa, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, not only yielded symbolic artifacts but also sophisticated tools, including finely crafted bone points and pressure-flaked stone implements. These bone tools, likely used for fishing or sewing, represent a significant innovation, as bone is more difficult to work than stone. The pressure flaking technique, which involves applying precise pressure to shape stone tools, further highlights the technical skill of Homo sapiens. Types and functions of early tools. The tools of early Homo sapiens were diverse and multifunctional, reflecting their ability to adapt to varied environments. Key tool types include rewrote flakes and points. These sharp, symmetrical tools were used for cutting, scraping, and piercing. Points were likely hafted onto spears for hunting, while flakes served as knives or scrapers for processing hides and plants. Blades. Long, thin stone tools with parallel edges. Blades were more efficient than earlier flake tools, allowing for precise cutting tasks. They appear frequently in MSA sites like Olorgesailie and Clayses. Rivermouth. Scrapers used for preparing animal hides or woodworking. Scrapers were essential for creating clothing and shelters, particularly in cooler environments. Bone tools. Found at sites like Blombos and Katanda in the Democratic Republic of Congo, approximately 90,000 years ago. Bone tools were used for fishing, sewing, or as awls, indicating a broadening of technological capabilities. Microliths. Small stone tools, often less than a centimeter long, were used as components in composite tools, such as arrowheads or barbs. These appear in later MSA sites, suggesting the development of projectile technology. These tools were often made from high-quality materials like flint. obsidian, and silkreed, sourced from distant locations. The use of non-local materials, as seen at Olorgesailie and Pinnacle Point, suggests that Homo sapiens engaged in trade or long-distance travel, reflecting complex social and logistical networks, technological innovations, and cognitive implications. The development of MSA tools required significant cognitive and technical skills. The Levallois technique, for instance, involved multiple steps: selecting a suitable core, shaping it, striking it to produce a flake, and retouching the flake for specific uses. This process demanded mental planning, hand-eye coordination, and an understanding of material properties, all of which point to advanced cognitive abilities in Homo sapiens. The use of hafting, attaching stone points to handles or shafts, represents another leap in technological complexity. Hafting required knowledge of materials, for example, wood, sinew, or resin, and techniques to create secure bindings. Evidence from Pinnacle Point suggests that Homo sapiens used heat treatment to enhance the quality of stone, a process that involved controlled heating to make materials like silkreed easier to flake. This innovation indicates an understanding of chemistry and thermodynamics, underscoring the intellectual sophistication of early humans. The production of bone tools, as seen at Blombos and Katanda, required additional skills, as bone is harder to shape than stone. The ability to craft delicate bone points suggests fine motor skills and patience, further evidence of Homo sapiens' cognitive advancements. The role of tools in survival and adaptation. The technological advancements of early Homo sapiens were critical to their survival and ability to adapt to diverse environments. MSA tools enabled more efficient hunting, allowing Homo sapiens to target a wide range of prey, from small antelopes to large megafauna like elephants. The use of hafted spears and, later, projectile weapons increased hunting success rates, providing a reliable food supply. Tools also facilitated the processing of plant materials and animal hides, essential for creating clothing, shelters, and storage containers. In coastal sites like Clay's Rivermouth and Pinnacle Point, evidence of shellfish processing suggests that Homo sapiens used tools to exploit marine resources, diversifying their diet. This dietary flexibility was a key factor in their ability to colonize varied environments, from African savannas to the coastal regions they encountered during their dispersal. The development of trade or exchange networks, as indicated by the presence of non-local materials, further enhanced Homo sapiens' adaptability. Access to high-quality raw materials allowed for the production of superior tools, giving Homo sapiens an edge over other hominins, such as Neanderthals, whose toolkits were less diverse. Comparisons with other hominins. Comparing Homo sapiens tools with those of other hominins provides insight into their technological advantages. Neanderthals, for instance, used Mousterian tools, which were effective but less refined than MSA tools. While Neanderthals also employed the Levallois technique, their tools were generally heavier and less standardized. Denisovans, known primarily from Siberian sites, used tools that overlapped with those of Homo sapiens and Neanderthals, but their technological record is less clear due to limited archaeological evidence. The ability of Homo sapiens to produce versatile, lightweight, and composite tools likely gave them an advantage in resource acquisition and environmental adaptation. Conclusion: the tools and early technologies of Homo sapiens represent a cornerstone of their evolutionary success. The Middle Stone Age marked a period of remarkable innovation, with advancements like the Levallois technique, hafting, and bone tools reflecting the cognitive and technical prowess of early modern humans. Archaeological evidence from sites like Jebel Erhoud, Olorgesailie, and Blombos Cave illustrates the diversity and sophistication of these tools, which enabled Homo sapiens to hunt, gather, and adapt to varied environments. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these technological foundations supported the social and cultural developments that defined Homo sapiens' global journey. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa around 300,000 years ago was not only a biological milestone, but also a social and cultural one. Early modern humans developed complex social structures and community organizations that distinguished them from other hominins and laid the foundation for their survival and global dispersal. These social systems, characterized by cooperation, resource sharing, and group cohesion, were critical to their ability to thrive in diverse and challenging environments. This chapter explores the archaeological and anthropological evidence for the social organization of early Homo sapiens, focusing on their group dynamics, cooperative behaviors, and the role of social networks in their evolutionary success. The importance of social organization. Social organization refers to the ways in which individuals within a group interact, cooperate, and structure their relationships to achieve common goals. For early Homo sapiens, living in groups provided significant advantages, including protection from predators, improved hunting success, and the ability to share resources and knowledge. Unlike earlier hominins, such as Homo erectus or Homo heidelbergensis, Homo sapiens exhibited more complex social behaviors, likely facilitated by their advanced cognitive abilities, including language and symbolic thought. The development of social structures allowed Homo sapiens to form larger, more interconnected groups than their predecessors. These groups, ranging from small bands of 20 to 50 individuals to larger networks of interconnected communities, enabled early humans to adapt to environmental challenges, share innovations, and maintain cultural traditions. The ability to cooperate and coordinate within and between groups was a key factor in Homo sapiens' ability to outcompete other hominins and colonize diverse regions. Archaeological evidence of social behavior. Archaeological sites across Africa provide insights into the social organization of early Homo sapiens. Clissy's river mouth in South Africa, approximately 120,000 to 60,000 years ago, offers evidence of cooperative resource exploitation. The site contains large quantities of shellfish remains and hearths, suggesting that groups gathered to process marine resources and share meals. The presence of hearths indicates that fire was used not only for cooking, but also as a focal point for social interaction, where individuals likely shared stories, planned activities, or reinforced group bonds. Blombos Cave, approximately 100,000 to 70,000 years ago, provides compelling evidence of social complexity through its symbolic artifacts. The engraved ochre pieces and perforated shell beads suggest that early Homo sapiens used visual symbols to communicate identity, status, or group affiliation. These artifacts imply the existence of structured social groups, where individuals used adornments to signal their roles or relationships within the community. Alorgeseli in Kenya, approximately 320,000 to 295,000 years ago, reveals evidence of long-distance resource exchange, with obsidian tools sourced from locations over 100 kilometers away. This suggests that early Homo sapiens maintained networks of interaction between groups, possibly through trade or seasonal gatherings. Such networks would have required social cooperation and trust, indicating a level of organizational complexity beyond that of earlier hominins. Cooperative behaviors and group dynamics. Cooperation was a cornerstone of early Homo sapiens social organization. Archaeological evidence suggests that they engaged in group hunting, resource sharing, and collective defense, which increased their survival chances in challenging environments. For example, the presence of large animal bones at sites like Jebel Irhoud and Alorgeseli indicates that Homo sapiens hunted megafauna, such as antelopes or buffalo, tasks that required coordinated efforts among multiple individuals. Resource sharing is another key aspect of early Homo sapiens social behavior. The shellfish middens at Clay's river mouth and Pinnacle Point suggest that groups pooled their resources, with individuals specializing in different tasks, such as gathering shellfish, hunting, or preparing food. This division of labor likely enhanced group efficiency and ensured a stable food supply, particularly during periods of scarcity. Child-rearing practices also reflect the cooperative nature of Homo sapiens communities. Unlike other primates, where mothers bear the primary responsibility for offspring, Homo sapiens likely practiced alloparenting, where group members shared childcare duties. This allowed mothers to participate in other activities, such as gathering or tool-making, and ensured higher survival rates for infants. The long dependency period of human children, a result of their large brains, necessitated strong social bonds and cooperative care within groups. The role of language and symbolic behavior. The development of language, as discussed in Chapter 4, was critical to the social organization of Homo sapiens. Language enabled complex communication, allowing groups to coordinate hunting strategies, share knowledge about resources, and maintain social bonds. While direct evidence of language is absent, the presence of symbolic artifacts, such as the shell beads at Blombos Cave, suggests that early Homo sapiens used visual and possibly verbal symbols to communicate social information. Symbolic behavior also played a role in reinforcing group identity. The engraved ochre and beads at Blombos indicate that individuals used visual markers to signal membership in specific groups or to denote status within the community. These symbols likely facilitated trust and cooperation between individuals, particularly in interactions with neighboring groups. The ability to create and share symbols suggests a level of social complexity that set Homo sapiens apart from other hominins, such as Neanderthals, whose symbolic artifacts are less prevalent. Social networks and intergroup interactions. The archaeological record suggests that early Homo sapiens maintained extensive social networks that connected different communities. The presence of non-local materials, such as obsidian at Olorugizili or marine shells at inland sites, indicates trade or exchange networks that spanned hundreds of kilometers. These networks allowed groups to access high-quality resources, share technological innovations, and maintain genetic diversity through intergroup mating. Intergroup interactions likely took place during seasonal gatherings or at resource-rich locations, such as coastal sites or river valleys. These gatherings provided opportunities for social bonding, mate exchange, and the sharing of cultural practices, such as tool-making techniques or ritual behaviors. The ability to maintain long-distance connections gave Homo sapiens a significant advantage over other hominins, whose networks were more localized, as evidenced by the limited distribution of Neanderthal tools. Comparisons with other hominins. Comparing the social organization of Homo sapiens with that of other hominins highlights their unique strengths. Neanderthals, for instance, lived in small groups of 10 to 20 individuals and relied on localized resources, as indicated by the limited range of raw materials in their sites, while Neanderthals exhibited cooperative behaviors, such as group hunting and caregiving. Their social networks were less extensive than those of Homo sapiens. The lack of widespread symbolic artifacts in Neanderthal sites suggests that their social structures were less complex. Denisovans, known primarily from genetic and limited archaeological evidence, likely lived in small, dispersed groups in Asia. The sparse record makes it difficult to assess their social organization, but the presence of Homo sapiens artifacts in Denisovan sites, such as Denisovan caves, suggests possible interactions and cultural exchange. The broader social networks and cooperative strategies of Homo sapiens likely contributed to their ability to outcompete or absorb these other hominins. The impact on survival and dispersal. The social organization of early Homo sapiens was a key factor in their evolutionary success. Cooperative behaviors, such as group hunting and resource sharing, increased their ability to exploit diverse resources and survive in fluctuating environments. The development of social networks allowed for the exchange of knowledge and materials, fostering innovation and resilience. These social structures also facilitated the dispersal of Homo sapiens out of Africa, as discussed in Chapter 6, by enabling groups to maintain connections across vast distances and adapt to new environments. The social cohesion fostered by language, symbolic behavior, and cooperative practices gave Homo sapiens a competitive edge over other hominins. Their ability to form large, interconnected groups allowed them to respond flexibly to environmental challenges, share innovations, and maintain cultural continuity. These traits laid the foundation for the complex societies that would emerge in later human history. Conclusion: the society and community organization of early Homo sapiens were defined by cooperation, complex social networks, and symbolic behavior. Archaeological evidence from sites like Jebel Irhoud, Clay's river mouth, and Blombos cave reveals a species capable of coordinating group activities, sharing resources, and maintaining long-distance connections. These social structures, supported by language and symbolic artifacts, enabled Homo sapiens to thrive in diverse environments and outcompete other hominins. As we explore subsequent chapters, we will see how these early social systems paved the way for the cultural and technological advancements that shaped human history. The emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa, approximately 300,000 years ago, was a transformative event that set the course for human history. As the first anatomically modern humans, Homo sapiens possessed unique cognitive, social, and technological capabilities that distinguished them from other hominins and enabled their global dominance. Their appearance marked the beginning of a journey that would lead to the development of complex societies, advanced technologies, and diverse cultures. This chapter explores the profound significance of Homo sapiens' emergence, examining how their biological, cultural, and social innovations laid the foundation for the milestones of human history, from the agricultural revolution to the modern era, a biological and cognitive leap. The emergence of Homo sapiens was characterized by significant biological advancements that underpinned their evolutionary success. Their larger brain, averaging around 1,350 cubic centimeters, supported enhanced cognitive functions, including abstract thinking, problem-solving, and planning. These capabilities, discussed in earlier chapters, enabled Homo sapiens to develop complex behaviors such as language, symbolic thought, and sophisticated tool-making. The anatomical features of Homo sapiens, such as a globular skull, reduced brow ridges, and a gracile skeleton, facilitated greater mobility and adaptability, allowing them to thrive in diverse environments. This cognitive leap was a cornerstone of Homo sapiens' ability to innovate. Unlike earlier hominins, such as Homo erectus or Neanderthals, Homo sapiens demonstrated a capacity for creativity and flexibility that allowed them to respond to environmental challenges with novel solutions. For example, the development of Middle Stone Age tools, as seen at sites like Jebel Irhoud and Olor-Geseli, required planning and technical skill, reflecting a level of cognitive sophistication that set the stage for future technological advancements. The ability to think symbolically, evidenced by artifacts like the engraved ochre at Blombos Cave, was particularly significant. Symbolic thought enabled Homo sapiens to create shared meanings, develop cultural identities, and transmit knowledge across generations. This capacity for cultural accumulation, building on previous innovations, distinguished Homo sapiens and laid the groundwork for the development of complex societies. The foundation for cultural development. The emergence of Homo sapiens marked the beginning of a rich cultural trajectory that would shape human history. The symbolic artifacts and artistic expressions discussed in Chapter 5, such as shell beads and engraved ochre, indicate that early Homo sapiens engaged in behaviors that went beyond mere survival. These activities, including body adornment and ritualistic practices, suggest the presence of social structures and cultural traditions that fostered group cohesion and identity. The development of language, as explored in Chapter 4, was a critical cultural milestone. Language enabled Homo sapiens to share stories, plan collective activities, and transmit knowledge, creating a cumulative culture that could be built upon over time. This ability to preserve and share information was a key factor in the development of increasingly complex technologies and social systems, from the invention of agriculture to the creation of writing systems. The cultural innovations of early Homo sapiens also facilitated their dispersal out of Africa, as discussed in Chapter 6. As they migrated to new regions, they carried their cultural practices, such as tool-making techniques and symbolic behaviors, adapting them to new environments. This cultural flexibility allowed Homo sapiens to establish diverse traditions across the globe, from the rock art of Australia to the cave paintings of Europe, setting the stage for the rich tapestry of human cultures. Social organization and global dispersal. The social organization of early Homo sapiens, as detailed in Chapter 9, was a defining factor in their success. Their ability to form cooperative groups, share resources, and maintain extensive social networks enabled them to survive in challenging environments and outcompete other hominins. The evidence of trade networks, such as the obsidian exchange at Olor-Geseli, suggests that early Homo sapiens engaged in intergroup interactions that fostered innovation and resilience. These social structures were critical during the dispersal out of Africa, as Homo sapiens encountered new environments and other hominins, such as Neanderthals and Denisovans. Chapter 7. Their cooperative social systems allowed them to adapt and thrive. The ability to form large, interconnected groups facilitated the sharing of knowledge and resources, enabling Homo sapiens to colonize diverse regions, from the tropical forests of Southeast Asia to the icy steppes of Europe. The social and cultural advantages of Homo sapiens also contributed to their dominance over other hominins. Their ability to coordinate large-scale activities, such as group hunting or long-distance trade, gave them a competitive edge. Interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans further enhanced their adaptability. incorporating genetic traits that aided survival in new climates and environments. Technological foundations for civilization. The technological innovations of early Homo sapiens, discussed in Chapter 8, laid the groundwork for the development of human civilization. The Middle Stone Age tools, such as Levallois points, blades, and bone implements, enabled efficient resource exploitation, from hunting large game to processing plant materials. These tools were not only practical, but also reflected a level of technical skill and planning that foreshadowed later technological advancements. The ability to create composite tools, such as hafted spears, and to use heat treatment to enhance stone quality, as seen at Pinnacle Point, demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of materials and processes. These early technological achievements paved the way for subsequent innovations, such as the development of agriculture around 10,000 years ago. The agricultural revolution, which transformed human societies from hunter-gatherer bands to settled communities, was built on the foundation of Homo sapiens' early technological and cognitive capabilities. The use of fire, a critical technology, also had long-term implications. Fire enabled Homo sapiens to cook food, increasing nutritional efficiency, and to manipulate environments through controlled burns, encouraging the growth of edible plants. These practices, evident at sites like Clay's River mouth, set the stage for the environmental management strategies that would characterize later human societies. The legacy of Homo sapiens emergence. The emergence of Homo sapiens was a turning point that shaped the trajectory of human history. Their cognitive, social, and technological innovations enabled them to outcompete other hominins, colonize the globe, and develop the complex societies that define the modern world. The ability to think symbolically, communicate through language, and cooperate in large groups allowed Homo sapiens to create cultures, technologies, and social systems that have continued to evolve over millennia. The legacy of Homo sapiens emergence is evident in the milestones of human history. The agricultural revolution, which began around 10,000 years ago, relied on the cognitive and social foundations established by early Homo sapiens. The development of writing systems, such as cuneiform in Mesopotamia approximately 3500 BCE, was a direct extension of their ability to create and share symbols. The rise of cities, states, and empires, from ancient Egypt to modern nations, can be traced back to the cooperative social structures and technological innovations of early modern humans. Moreover, the global dispersal of Homo sapiens led to the rich diversity of human cultures, languages, and traditions that characterize the world today. Their ability to adapt to diverse environments, from deserts to tundras, reflects the resilience and flexibility that emerged in Africa 300,000 years ago. The genetic legacy of interbreeding with Neanderthals and Denisovans continues to influence modern human populations, contributing to traits like immune response and high-altitude adaptation. Challenges and future implications. The emergence of Homo sapiens also set the stage for the challenges that would accompany their success. Their ability to manipulate environments, while initially adaptive, led to significant ecological impacts, from deforestation to species extinction. The social and technological advancements that enabled Homo sapiens to thrive also introduced complexities, such as social inequality and conflict, that continue to shape human societies. Looking forward, the legacy of Homo sapiens emergence raises questions about the future of our species. The cognitive and technological capabilities that defined early Homo sapiens have led to unprecedented advancements, from space exploration to artificial intelligence. However, these same capabilities pose existential challenges, such as climate change and ethical dilemmas in technology. Understanding the origins of Homo sapiens provides insight into our capacity for innovation and adaptation, as well as the responsibility to use these abilities wisely. Conclusion: the emergence of Homo sapiens in Africa 300,000 years ago was a pivotal moment that laid the foundation for human history. Their cognitive, social, and technological innovations enabled them to outcompete other hominins, colonize the globe, and develop the complex societies that define the modern world. From the symbolic artifacts of Blombo's cave to the cooperative networks of Giseli, early Homo sapiens demonstrated a remarkable capacity for creativity, adaptability, and collaboration. These traits not only ensured their survival, but also set the stage for the cultural, technological, and social milestones that continue to shape human history. As we reflect on this legacy, we gain a deeper appreciation for the origins of our species and the potential for our future.